Hi, this is Miss Cannon, and I am going to record the Unit 1 study guide video to help you prepare for your exam. A couple things. With this study guide, you can rewind it, you can fast forward it, you can pause it. I'm not going to go super slow, and I'm going to go rather quickly because I want this to be short. So, when we talk about what is a primary and secondary source, a primary source is a firsthand account of an incident or event in history. A secondary source is a secondhand account. So, what you have to understand is that with a primary source, it occurred at the time. So the Constitution would be a primary source. But if you have a book written in 1975 about the Constitution, that is a secondary source. How does this help historians complete research? Well, first of all, it offers you different historical perspectives. Especially a primary source gives you insight into exactly what society or what was going on with the event, and who were the main people involved, what was the situation or the issue. With the secondary, a lot of times when historians are studying secondary sources, we have to evaluate whether they're reliable or not. But once you have deciphered whether it is a reliable source, you can pull from another historian's knowledge if they've written the secondary source. How did trade between civilizations affect them? First of all, you are going to have cultural diffusion. And when you think of cultural diffusion, you need to think of different cultures meshing together. Um, when these civilizations like Mesopotamia and Egypt trade with each other, they're going to interact. They're going to learn new ways and methods. They're going to get goods that they can't produce in their own civilization, which is a benefit. But I always think of different diffusion cultures meshing together. When you think of something like you fuse it together, that's kind of your fusion aspect. Um, 5 key traits of civilization are advanced cities, advanced technology, record keeping, complex institutions, and I'm missing one. Give me 1 second. Specialized workers. There we go. When you think about specialized workers, you need to think about everybody has a different job. Like when we first arrived with civilization, a lot of people are going to be farmers, but with the surplus in food, other people can have different jobs, like being a potter or a a merchant where you take goods and trade them. When we talk about advanced technology, it's not going to be an iPad, but it will be the plow, the wheel, irrigation systems, buildings. When we talk about complex institutions, you need to think about government systems, leadership, organized religion. When we talk about advanced cities, um, think about cities like Sumer. Think about how ancient Egypt and the Indus River Valley civilization all had cities that were inside of them, like the Harappa in India. Um, and record keeping. Hammurabi's code, written laws that keep society in order. Just like we have birth and death certificates now, that's a record of people's life existence. Also, people used to write down transactions with trade. When we talk about, and I'm on number 5, the significance of the Neolithic Revolution, you need to understand that the Neolithic Revolution is very important because it went from hunting and gathering to farming. Instead of us walking behind animals and hunting them and tracking them and gathering berries from the field or gathering berries from the forest or wheat from the forest, instead we start to domesticate animals and we domesticate plants to use them for what humans need, like farming and meat and milk and things like that. And if you have a farm, it is significant because you have to stay in one place. And with us staying and with people staying in one place, there will be a rise of civilization. So the Neolithic Revolution is significant because we changed from hunting and gathering to farming, as well as a rise of civilization because people are going to live in permanent settlements. Number 6, civilizations arise near what geographical feature? First of all, if you don't understand what geographical feature is, let me give you some examples. Mountains, deserts, rivers, plateaus, like plains. Anything that is dealing with the geography, that it's a feature that sticks out like a landmark or something that people identify with a certain region. So when we talk about civilizations arising, the geographical feature that they're near is a river. When you have Mesopotamia, they have the Tigris and Euphrates River. Egypt has the Nile. the India has the Indus, and China has the Yangtze and the Hunghe rivers, and people settle here because there is fertile silt deposits that come from the flooding, which help them farm their land. Remember that people also can't survive without water. Number 7, why is the Code of Hammurabi important? First of all, it is the first universal set of laws. And the biggest thing that Hammurabi did is he wrote them down, because when you write things down, you write laws down, they cannot be disputed by society. Also, these laws, everybody always wants to say, well, it's an eye for an eye. And yes, it is an eye for an eye, but what you need to remember is that Hammurabi's code is important because laws offer order to society. Keeps it in order. And yes, we have laws in our society that everybody doesn't follow, but there are consequences. And a majority of people follow the laws, especially if there's consequences. Explain some significant accomplishments in Egypt. Egypt had the creation of the pyramids. They also had a technique of mummification, which was new technology. And one thing that you really need to think about, and it's going to kind of tie into number 9, is that they had a very organized system of government. And yes, they had pharaohs, which were their god kings, but they had a government system of a bureaucracy, which is a government system that has divided up the duties and responsibilities in the government, so that the pharaoh has, yes, he is concerned with all the things that are going on, but he kind of divvies up the work to different individuals because he can't be all over at one time. Why did the Egyptians build the pyramids? The pyramids were built to honor their pharaohs, and they were burial tombs for them. And remember that all their items went down into these tombs with them. But they were to honor their pharaohs. What is the importance of written language in ancient civilization? Examples would be like your cuneiform, the hieroglyphs. When we talk about written language in ancient civilizations, for historical aspect, it helps us have insight into their society. But for their times, it helped enable record keeping, but it also unified their culture and civilization under one organized written language. And remember, when we talk about, another example would be the Qin dynasty, they created a writing system and a language system, and everyone in China had to follow that language system, and that offers unity to a civilization, and there's no confusion. Explain the accomplishments of the Indus River Valley civilization. You have to remember they had very advanced cities, street grids, a drainage system that used gravity to pull the waste away from their civilization, the citadel. And make sure you go back in your notes and look at some of the other accomplishments. They also had the caste system, which I know to us would probably, we had a discussion in class about how it's harmful for the untouchables to be in this class system, but at least they did have a social order, they had laws, and they were ruled by religion. Make sure you go back and look at your notes. A dynastic cycle, I'm on number 13, is that every dynasty has a rise and a fall in China. And you have to also remember the mandate of heaven, and I'm just going to explain both of these concepts together. So I'm talking about 13 and 14 right now. When we discuss the concepts of the mandate of heaven, you have to understand that they believe that the gods chose their emperor. There can only be one emperor because there's only one heaven, and that dynasties dealing with emperors, they don't have to stay in place forever. And with dynasties, it's just like when we talk about what goes up must come down, and that happens with Chinese dynasties. If you're not clear about a dynasty, before I go any further, a dynasty is a series of family rulers. So if an emperor dies, his son will take over, and then his son, and then his son. And what you need to understand about the dynastic cycle, that if society is prosperous, if the dynasty is honorable, they're not corrupt, then the dynasty will maintain power. Anytime that the economy declines, the people, the common man, can't function and aren't doing well in society, then another dynasty will take the place of that dynasty. And that is a cycle. It's cyclical. What goes up must come down. Identify the achievements of the Chinese dynasty. We have metalworking with iron, coins, first cavalry, written language, let's see, porcelain. Remember I talked about China, like you have a cabinet of China. Don't forget porcelain, gunpowder, things like that. And the best thing for you to do is to go back into your notes and look at all the achievements, because each dynasty had several achievements and new innovations. Um, when we talk about Mesoamerican societies, you need to remember that they were considered advanced civilizations. They did have the 5 key traits of civilizations, and they exemplified those, the Mayans, Incans, and the Aztecs. And what you need to do is, for number 17, list 3 accomplishments for each civilization we've discussed. That would be Mesopotamia, Egypt, India, China, and Mesoamerica. Make sure that you are caught up in all your notes. Please do not just rely on the study guide alone to study. You need to look over your notes and remember that you can text or email your teacher. You can fast forward or rewind. And I hope you have a great evening.